Howdy! Welcome to Aspire Mountain Academy. I'm Professor Curtis, your instructor for this course in Introductory Statistics. In less than 10 minutes, this video provides an introduction to linear regression analysis by explaining the definition of key terms, detailing the requirements which need to be met, and showing the use of scatterplots in linear regression. Let's get started. Let's look at some definitions for some key terms. First up is correlation. So we've talked about correlation in previous mini lectures. Essentially, a correlation exists between two variables when the values of one are somehow associated with the values of the other. So if there's a relationship between the two halves of our paired data, then we say there's a correlation that exists. Now, that correlation is a linear correlation when the relationship between those two variables can be approximated by a straight line. So if they make a straight line pattern on a scatter plot, that's going to be what we call a linear correlation. Of course, there's more to linear correlation than just a scatter plot, and we'll get into that momentarily. Of course, everything in the real world, unfortunately, is not conforming to a linear correlation, but there is a relationship between variables. It's just that it's not a linear one. It's a nonlinear one. And so we have a nonlinear correlation when you can approximate the relationship between two variables with something other than a straight line. So you're looking at a parabola or a sinusoidal curve, an exponential function. There's a long list of different nonlinear correlations that exist. And we'll get into some of those in a future mini lecture. Now, previously we were looking at establishing the strength of a correlation subjectively. So we'd look at the scatter plot and we'd say, yeah, does it conform with that line of best fit, yay or nay? And it was somewhat subjective because we're doing it by eye. Now what we're going to introduce is a more objective approach to determining the strength of a linear correlation, and it's with the linear correlation coefficient, represented with the letter R. Now your textbook author uses a lowercase letter r to represent the sample coefficient, and then the population coefficient is represented not with a capital letter R, but with a Greek letter rho. I don't know why he does it that way. Everywhere else I've done it, I've seen it expressed with a capital letter R, and it doesn't matter whether it's a sample or the population, it's a capital letter R. So I don't know what your textbook author's driving at with where he's doing things, but you just learn it, you run with it, and you're all good. There's some requirements that need to be met because our methodology for determining linear correlation is based on certain assumptions. So we need to make sure that we have those assumptions met before we start using the method. First up, we need to make sure that our data come from a simple random sample of quantitative data. Next, we need to put the data on a scatter plot, and the scatter plot will need to show that the points approximate a straight line pattern. If there's any outliers in their data set, then we need to remove those that are known to be errors. Essentially what you're doing here is you're doing an investigation to the data. Dig into the data. Where did the data come from? Was there a transcription error? Is there some fundamental characteristic that makes this data point different than the other data points that are in the data set? Try to explain, why is this data point an outlier? And the reason why we're so interested in that is because leaving them in our data set can have a huge effect both in determining correlation and creating a regression model. So we really want to include in the data set only those data points that need to be there. And if it's something that needs to be removed, then we need to remove it. But we just don't remove things willy-nilly because they produce something that we don't like. We've got to have a justification for removing it. And usually that justification is based on, it's a transcription error, or there's some characteristic about what that data point represents that is fundamentally different from the other data points in the data set. Oftentimes when you're trying to make a decision between whether to keep or leave out the data point, you're going to make the model both ways and see what it gives you. I can't tell you the number of meetings I was in as an engineer where we would spend the entire meeting, an hour, 2 hours, talking about just one or two data points in the set that, they were outliers. And so we have to decide, are we going to leave them in or are we going to take them out? And people's agenda, they come with different agendas. And so some agendas are better served by leaving it in. Some are better served by leaving it out. So, you've got to find a way to balance this and justify what you do, whether you leave it in or take it out. There's got to be sufficient justification for taking the route that you take. As I said earlier, one of the ways in which we determine linear correlations with the help of a scatter plot. And it's really helpful to do this first because the scatter plot shows you right away what's going on with the data. So you read the plot as you would a book from left to right, and then you just look for any trends in the data. So as you go from left to right, you see any trends. So the first scatter plot we see there for strong positive correlation. Okay, imagine drawing a line of best fit through your data points. So there we draw a line that looks something like this maybe. And look at how closely those data points adhere to your line of best fit. That's what we mean when we say strong correlation. Strong correlation means that those data points are pretty close to the line. Of course, if they're spread out further from the line, that's what we have, what we call moderate correlation. Okay, so looking at the next scatter plot over, notice how the data points are a little bit more spread out from that line of best fit. That's what leads to be a moderate correlation. Okay. Now, notice how those two correlations that we just looked at are also labeled positive correlations. That's because the line of best fit has a positive slope. So, of course, if the line of best fit has a negative slope, then that would be an example of negative correlation. So, positive and negative just tells you direction, where the slope of your line is going. Of course, not everything in the real world conforms to a linear relationship. Some things conform to a curvilinear relationship. And so we have nonlinear correlations as well. And then we come to what I call the shotgun effect. So if a correlation doesn't seem to fit anything, then it's not really correlated with anything because there's no relationship between your variables. And so what you get is this sort of shotgun appearance on your scatter plot. It's like someone took their shotgun to it. So that's why I call it the shotgun effect. And that means you have no correlation. Now, you can make scatter plots pretty easy in StatCrunch. Once your data is inside, just go to Graph and then Scatter Plot. And then in the options window, you see there's lots of bells and whistles, but mostly you just need to select your X and Y variables and then hit Compute. And then, you're off and running with your scatter plot. Now, sometimes your homework problems will try to mess with your head. What they do is they adjust the scales on the graph. So you can get around this in one of two ways. First, you can just drag the edges of your window to change the area of the size of your plot area. Or the other way to go about it is to click on those three bars in that lower left corner and then select the axis you want to change, enter in new values for a max and min value. And usually I just take those from the answer choices in my assignment. And then I get a graph that better matches what I'm looking at. Let's look at an example problem really quick before we end our lecture today. So here we have a data set. We're asked to select the correct scatter plot below. So go ahead, get into StatCrunch and put the X and Y data that you see there in the table inside StatCrunch. Make your scatter plot, make your selection of which answer choice you think is the best one, and then come back and we'll see how well you did. Okay, let's see how you did with this. So once your data is there in StatCrunch, go to Graph, Scatter Plot, and then pick your columns in the options window, press Compute, and you should be able to get the right answer. Now, if you don't know what X and Y is, because here it's labeled with X and Y, usually X is the one that's listed first. But you can also look at the scaling on your graphs to see which one is the right one to pick. So for most problems, you're going to be told which is which, but on the rare event that you're not, you can pick up clues to figure out what's what. Here's what your scatter plot should look like, so the correct answer will be answer option B. And that brings us to the end of this mini lecture. I hope you found it helpful. You can find more mini lectures for this and other courses at AspireMountainAcademy.com. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.